Oh, God.
Last
Here we go,
month,
fam.
Hello Games shocked the community when they announced that No Man's Sky was making its way to Xbox
Shocked
One,
the community.
including an Xbox One X enhanced version of this ambitious space exploration and survival game. And now I'm joined by Sean from Hello Games to tell us what
He looks great.
and what we should
And he's
expect
not
from the
wearing
game's
flannel.
arrival
What's up,
on
Sean? You look
Xbox
great,
One.
bro.
Sean, welcome. I think it's fair to say that I never expected to be talking to you on an Xbox
Remember,
stage like
this is the first time.
I snuck in. I dug a tunnel to get here.
Good.
Dug
You're
a tunnel.
Very welcome, mate. Now, listen, I'm just going to be cheeky and open up with when is No Man's Sky coming to Xbox One?
Ooh.
Yeah, we haven't told anyone yet. So July 24th is when we're releasing No Man's Sky
Okay.
next.
Amazing. Brilliant. There you go.
So the
July
leak
24th.
was true.
And my next potentially cheeky question is, what's the story on multiplayer for No Man's Sky?
Yeah, so this is exciting. When No Man's Sky launches, July 24th, you're going to be able to play with your friends. Kind of a full multiplayer experience.
Amazing.
Right? And this is something that
Full multiplayer.
I wish we could have done sooner, but I'm so glad it's happening, right?
We do too,
been
Sean.
Playtesting it in the studio for like the last 6 months. It's a really different experience. You know, No Man's Sky can be kind of
Full
I
on.
guess a bit mysterious, a bit weird at times, right? But like, and also sometimes a little bit lonely, right? Because it's sci-fi, and I kind of love that side of it. But this is very different. It's more Battlestar. It's like Star Trek away team, right? It's
Oh, boy.
fun and funny.
Get out here,
and
Flandy.
Emergent and kind of intense, right? So you can play with a bunch of your friends, like a small group of your friends can go exploring, right? Or you can just come across random strangers and other travelers.
Oh, wow. What?
You can pair up together in a team and like just work together to survive. Or if you're that guy, you can go and kind of prey on other people, right?
Yeah.
If that's your thing.
There's that griefing.
Yeah. So like we've got base building as well.
Yeah.
So you can build bases together. You can build everything from like tiny little shelters to like complex colonies, right? Spread across like multiple planets. And because it's all online and those are shared, other people.
This feels like the
come and
Colbert
visit and
interview,
find
only
them.
right.
We've got like No Man's Sky is a very broad game, so we've got space as well. So
We've got space?
Dogfighting. You and your friends can be involved in kind of like big space battles. You can be a pirate or a wingman. And then there's something which I really love, which is a thing we added in one of our updates, which is Exo Craft and Vehicles, right? So you can race those against your friends. You can build racetracks
I
on
agree.
like alien planets. Or even just lay down a little
Let's
trail
see it.
of like your favorite path, your kind of scenic route, right? And so I think this is like potential that everyone's always seen in No Man's Sky, right? It's something that, I don't know, it's a kind of game that myself and a lot of other people have always wanted to play in a multiplayer world, I think, and I'm just really excited to be able to do that.
Great. Yeah, you've been through a lot with this game, right? I mean, does it feel now that you're getting to the point where you're really realizing the vision of what you always wanted from this experience?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think when we come to Xbox, which is a fun thing, where we've got a whole bunch of like updates over the last 2 years that we've been working on, including Next, and they really expand the game, right? No Man's Sky was always huge, right? It was crazily ambitious,
right?
But like when I look at it, those updates have really kind of expanded and deepened every part of the game, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I
So we've
think
got
that's a really
gameplay on
important
here,
point,
but I
right?
don't.
'Cause
Oh, this is the
especially
Atlas Rises
Xbox
trailer.
Fans in the Xbox community, they may not know.
Come on, Sean, give me
No Man's
something.
Sky as well as some other communities, right? So tell us about what is exactly going to be in the Xbox version of the game that might be different from what people heard about in the past.
Yes,
Right,
let's.
So when you play on Xbox, I mean, and I think this is an exciting thing for us as a developer, you always like, sharing this thing that you've worked really hard on with other people. But for us in particular, it's interesting with Xbox because we get to make that first impression with people. We have a much broader and more expanded game. So when you play it, day one, you're playing that base like stupidly ambitious game that a small team was making, but you're also playing like 4 kind of pretty major updates in like Pathfinder.
So all the
Atlas
included,
Rises,
all the
Foundation,
updates are
and now,
included.
Next.
Right. So tell us about Next. Well, actually, let's first of all, let's talk about some of the key things that are in those other 4 expansions, and then let's move on to Next. So what are like the biggest things that you've added since the game
Flandy,
initially released?
You're one of those embarrassing dudes
No Man's Sky
that still haven't played the
is
game
something
since
that we've
update.
been kind of working on and developing.
Educate yourself.
Over the last while. With these major updates.
Flandy's
And the thing
trolling
that's
y'all,
been
by
really
the
fun
way.
is kind of working with the community, and we want to do that more, kind of listening intently. So you've got like Foundation, which was our first update, and that brought base building. It brought kind of survival mode, creative mode. Suddenly you could buy freighters.
So detailing all of the
you could start
things,
farming,
base building,
and
lots
so
of
that was,
modes like permadeath,
like
survival.
already, No Man's Sky was something that people played for a long time. Like our average playtime was really long, but Foundation kind of massively improved.
Hundreds of hours. I have about
went through
400
the roof.
hours.
Then we had
300 or 400
Pathfinder,
hours.
which brought vehicles. It also brought permadeath. You could expand base building a lot more. You could share them online and stuff
I
like that.
typically only play survival or
And that,
permadeath.
for
It's
me,
the only way to play No
actually,
Man's Sky
there's
for me.
Loads of little things that we added in that update that made the game kind of much more fun, actually, just a lot slicker and things like that. And then most recently we had Atlas Rises. Atlas Rises was a huge update.
You have like 30
It
hours.
brought a
See,
mission
man,
and quest
I thought I knew
system.
you,
It
bro.
brought, like
Thought I
30
thought I
hours
knew
of
you.
story. Really changed the game, and it got a really nice reception.
You put that
and a
shit
lot of people playing.
a Call
and
of
so
Duty
that
game.
actually was the reason we kind of took a step back after that and just kind of went, all right, let's start working on Next, which is what we've been working on. Let's take a year and let's make it the game we want it to be, right? Let's just, do the things we want.
So when you come to Xbox One and you ship No Man's Sky Next as well, I mean, does it kind of feel like a bit of a reboot for the game for you and the team at Hello?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been working on this for 2 years in a way, like a year on Next and a year on updates previously that this all builds on top of, right? And that's a really cool thing. And we're lucky that we have a community that cares really deeply about the game, And so I get a real kick out of like working on updates and kind of feeding them, doing things that I know they'll enjoy.
Oh, he's doing it on purpose.
I don't know. Maybe one day I will feel that No Man's Sky has been, like rebooted, or it's kind of done, and I can't think of anything else I want to do to it. But I don't feel like that, actually.
Right.
At the moment, I'm really enjoying what we're doing right now, and there's so many things that I can kind of get excited about in the future.
Yeah.
This is.
Well, tell us more about that. Well, I mean, what's the vision like after you come to Xbox? What's down the road?
Good question.
Well, I think that's an interesting thing, right? I think we're good at I don't know if we're good. We're good at making games, right? We're definitely better at that than talking about it, right? And
No
I
shit.
think, there's a real hunger in the community to know everything that we're doing and have a complete roadmap and stuff like that. But hopefully, we will reward their patience of not having much info with just good, solid content, right?
Can't argue
and we
with that,
only
bro.
like to talk about things when they are right, when we are super happy with them, right? When we know they can't possibly change. So, I really like making games. I don't necessarily love talking about making games.
I think you did a good job,
even
Sean,
though,
don't worry.
even though, you guys are very nice.
Mate, seriously, thank you so much for being on the show. Welcome to the Xbox community. It's wonderful to have you here. And will you come back and talk to us more about
Talk to
No
us
Man's
about
Sky down the
Next.
line?
Sure, maybe, yeah.
Sure,
Right, I'll
baby.
take that as a firm yes. Thank you, mate. Pleasure as always.
He didn't say anything about it.
All right, I know I can't wait for some Interstellar.
You didn't put. All right, so that's the big thing that we're taking away from this is full-on multiplayer. So before you get all disappointed, I'm glad he was there. And let's be honest, this was his first public appearance to the media, right? To gamers. Now, they've been to like trade shows like GDC and other places where they've delivered talks and stuff like that. But let's let's talk about what's going on right now, because if you don't know, just before this stream started, Waking Titan fired off in a pretty big way. So all 5 of the final glyphs. Now remember, it takes like months, like a month or 2 to get through a handful of glyphs. We went through quite a bit of them during or just leading up to the Atlas Rises announcement. And now all 5 of the final glyphs of Waking Titan just lit up, right? They're open now. That was before the stream. Also, 5 books have just been sent out to some pretty key players of the of this whole thing. Cobra TV got one, Nevadander got one, and a few other people on Reddit got one. So I'm thinking that here this weekend, here pretty soon, if not starting today, Waking Titan's going to kick up in a big way. So here's some other speculation. Something that MZK brought up today that I firmly believe. I've been calling this ever since Next was announced, was that I almost wonder if Next is going to be hitting PlayStation before Xbox, and before the Xbox watchers are like, no! It might hit the PlayStation beforehand, strictly for things like play testing and things like that. And so we already know that the Xbox version is going to launch on July 24th, and it's going to launch with all of the updates, including Next. So that's awesome too. So think about it. It takes a month for those to go gold, those copies to go gold. So typically it'll go to print. 505 Games will send it to print, and typically you have between 3 to 4 weeks before it's shipped out and it's bought and it's in stores and it's sold. So the same thing happened when it launched on PlayStation 4 and PC. It went gold 30 days later, or roughly it was in store shelves. So we are about 2 months away from that now, a little more than 2 months away from the launch of the next edition, or the new edition on the Xbox. So to me, it would be smart to launch it on the Xbox or on the PlayStation 4 first, get it out there, get it tested, because right after, for weeks, Hello Games are supporting that new update with bug fixes and improvements and additions and things like that. They did so specifically for Atlas Rises. So that's something to keep in mind. Do keep in mind, too, that anything goes between here and now. So you should keep an eye on Waking Titan and things like that. Also keep an eye on Sean Murray's Twitter. I don't know if he has posted. He's tweeted a few times since the stream has started. Let me see here. I think he runs his own Twitter. He follows one person, and that's Hello Games. He follows Hello Games, one person. How much of a gangster are you if you follow one person on Twitter? That's lovely. So let me see here. Full-on multiplayer, and that was really the only thing that we got out of that. But it sounds like there's some PvE in there, there's some co-op travel, and there even sounds like PvP. That sounded like PvP to me. Holler at me, chat. Keep me honest. Am I crazy here? Am I crazy? Tell me it wasn't just me that heard that. Because I heard that, going with a bunch of your friends, I heard full-on multiplayer. Now, I mean, you could read into that if you want, but he literally said that you could spend time preying on other players. That sounds to me like PvP. What do you think? Definitely not crazy? That's what it sounds like. That, to me, folks, sounds like PvP. That sounds like full-on multiplayer. We didn't see or really find out anything new about No Man's Sky other than multiplayer. There it is. He also talked a lot about the idea that this is what they wanted the game to be. Now, sometimes Sean talks, and sometimes when Sean says things, he says things and they're a little general, or they're nebulous, or they're hyperbolic. And and I'm really glad to see him again. I'm really glad that he has formulated the cojones to not only come back into the public sphere of things and literally come back into the fold. Because, again, this is his first appearance on a stream like this since before his stream of No Man's Sky on launch day or the day before launch. So takes massive balls after that launch and after all the stigma that No Man's Sky has. So kudos to that man for doing that. I think that's really cool of him to do. And to come back and talk about multiplayer, right? We've been calling for multiplayer. I remember that embarrassing stream from DM21 Gaming, or that video, PvP confirmed. So that video sort of is now retroactively vindicated, right? And I want to go back to the GameSpot video that he did with Danny O'Dwyer about 2 years before launch. I think it was 2 years. It was either 1 year or 2 years before launch. But he said not everything was going to be in the game at launch. I feel like a lot of people forgot that, including me. Like Cobra TV, he went back and literally watched this stuff and was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. Now, of course, anybody could have taken that kind of video in any kind of context. But to me, if you take it literally, that means No Man's Sky is going to launch a certain way. Not all of this shit's going to be in it. And now, there it is, right? You've got this thing, right? Here comes all these updates. We're going to continue to support it like Minecraft. He said that. He also said, we have this plan for multiplayer. We are not going to talk about it now, but there is a plan for a more traditional multiplayer. Now, when you talk about multiplayer, you have to separate multiplayer typically in this industry into two categories: co-op and adversarial. That's at least how I separate those things. You've got co-op, you've got adversarial, and the difference is that you're just running around with a bunch of your friends. And then, of course, adversarial, player versus player, killing each other, blowing each other up, all that stuff. It's easy to come out and say Sean Murray's a liar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he very well might have. We might be missing the complete context, because just before launch, or shortly before launch, we know that Hello Games was running out of money. He came out and he said that at GDC earlier. I don't know if it was earlier in the year or if it was just shortly after Atlas Rises. But the studio was running out of money. There it is. So I'm looking for the launch. I'm looking to see what No Man's Sky Next does, right? Because clearly there's more to it than just simply multiplayer. And for those of you that have not played since launch, I want you all to really keep in mind there's been so much that has changed about No Man's Sky that you maybe don't know of or didn't pay attention to, whether it deliberately or you just moved on with your life and you did other things. It's very, very important to know that not only have they added a lot of the things that they promised that they didn't deliver on since launch, they added way more than that. Like, here's some items that they weren't promising beforehand. They weren't promising base building. They weren't promising vehicles. None of those things were talked about. They were not talking about extra graphical and enhancements. They grew the textures, or they improved the textures. The frame rate has been improved. I play on PS4 Pro, and it's damn near 60 frames all the time, unless shit gets really busy on the screen. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that they have done to this game. Suit inventory full. Thanks, Johnny. Good to see y'all here. It's I don't mind managing a little of inventory. I play a lot of Minecraft, and there's an inventory. I just that's something that was vastly improved as well with Atlas Rises. I believe it was Atlas Rises, or it might have been Pathfinder 2. But They did a huge improvement to inventory. Now you've got like sort of a sub inventory where you can hold a lot more things. You can grow your inventory. You can stack items. So your inventory is much more manageable. So inventory is much better than it was at launch. So they've done a lot of improvements. So some of the things like now in the multiplayer that they promised before launch is in the game as well, right? They said that you could see other players. There it is. You can do that now. Yes, you can store item, Johnny. You can build a base either on a planet surface or in a freighter. You can buy freighters now, large, gigantic freighters, and then you can build a base in the freighter. To which you can have storage units that you can store your items in. I think it's up to 10 storage units, up 8 or 10 storage units. But you can hold a shit ton of stuff. And those are storage units. That's not counting the inventory of the actual freighter. So the freighter has its own inventory. Depending on the freighter, it could be small or large. But you can build your own base and expand the inventory that way too. So inventory is way more manageable now. More so than it was before. So there's been a lot of improvements to the game. If you have not played it since launch, give it another go. And of course, with next coming around, full-on multiplayer, y'all. Full-on multiplayer. I'm super excited for that. Looks like it's like a 4-player type squad. If I go by the leaked box art that we just had a couple of days ago, super cool. Hey Peter, good to see you. So yeah, that's all we learned today. It looks like the interviewer was trying to push him for a little more. But they didn't, and this just sort of let him go. I'd have been like, bro, come on, stop hitting me with all this garbage, all these platitudes, and just tell me what's next, what's going on, what is next, what does that mean? Multiplayer will definitely help. I agree. I love single player games, and I love the feeling of being alone, but then there's a dynamic that No Man's Sky could definitely explore by adding multiplayer. I was part of the No Man's Sky gathering day. I forget the name of it right off the top of my head, but there was one meeting spot where there were servers and servers and servers full of people, up to 16 people at once, and they were only like orbs. They're not actual player models, but it was good, man. Like meeting with other people on planets for the first time at a portal was pretty cool. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So my thoughts about that is we're about to get something super awesome. There's not a lot of depth to No Man's Sky at launch, but they certainly added to those things. But we got to be honest here. Like, No Man's Sky has never been a game for everyone. And I don't believe it ever will be a game for everyone, right? It is a certain type of game. There are certain types of games out there that are not for me, right? The Witcher, those are fantastic games, I hear, right? But I could never get so much into them that I could continue playing them. The Souls games, right? Bloodborne or Dark Souls. Let's be honest. That's not a game for everyone, right? I absolutely hate fighting games. I hate fighting games with a passion because of button combos and things like that. They're not for me. The genre is not for me. No Man's Sky is like that. Not everybody likes Minecraft. Not everybody likes Starbound. And I think that's okay, right? There are games that I just don't think are for me. Now, the way the game was presented at the beginning of the day, it could have been for everybody, and it just turned out to not be, right? The way it was marketed and things like that. Everybody was interested, but it came to the realization at launch that, hey, this is not a game for me, Johnny, as far as story, there was a 30-hour story campaign added to it. It's still kind of obscure, but it's interesting. It's really cool. There's still a lot of lore into it, but there is an actual campaign where you're literally following the story. So yes, it's. I thought it was pretty cool too. I finished it just shortly after the launch of the update, and it's worth looking at. Starbound is trash, and Terraria is better. Somebody ban him. Ban Sea of Thy Soul. I'm just kidding. I don't think I have a moderator in here. LZ watched your streams at NNS and started playing the game. Love it. One of the best games I've ever played. I intend on starting streams again more regularly. The fact that I didn't stream a whole lot because I could not stream with a good bit rate and a good frame rate. I absolutely hated the fact, as a matter of fact. But now I have moved, and now I have fiber internet. And as you could see, the stream is looking pretty clear. At least I hope it is. I haven't been paying too much attention to that, but I think it's clear, it's fluid. I'm happy for that. I can play games and stream them online and have them look really clear now. So yeah, I think if you're on the fence about No Man's Sky, stay there. It's okay. Totally cool to stay there. You should. Wait till we get more details on what next is. And I have a very good feeling that's coming very, very, very shortly. If it hasn't come right now. Like, I'm watching my Twitter feeds and stuff still. I'm just watching to see if I haven't missed anything because I've been yammering on this whole time. But let me see here. Some details on next. Team up with a friend or a small group of explorers. You can build bases together from little shelters to complex colonies spread out across multiple planets, dogfighting, races in Exo Crafts, and more. So I'm seeing some other things here. Some people disappointing with the lack of information. I really think that I'm not shocked that Sean didn't put out a bunch of information for it because we still have Waking Titan running. So supposedly there's more to come in the next few days. I can't wait to hear about that. Waking Titan is firing up pretty hard, Nick Bull. So can you play offline still? Brendan, that's a great question. And I think that goes to a lot of some of the complaints about multiplayer because there's some people in the No Man's Sky community that doesn't want multiplayer. Or they're like, I don't want multiplayer. Screw this multiplayer thing. And I'm like, as long as they let you play offline still, I'm cool with that, right? If it's an option, all right, that's fine. If you don't want to play online, you can always unplug your Ethernet cord and go about your day. It is an exploration game, and it's good. It does very well at that. Sean's too scared to say too much. Johnny Two Fingers, if you didn't know, there's actually a Waking Titan ARG that's being ran right now that is actually slowly filtering out information, and the community is solving the ARG together. So I'm not surprised that they haven't given too much information out now because they want to let the ARG play out. The ARG has a huge following. So I went into this thinking, and that was originally I wasn't going to stream this, right? Because I'm just like, they'll show a box art and here's a special edition Xbox console or something like that. And I wasn't that concerned about it. But then Waking Titan fired off, and now we had the last 5 glyphs, pretty much the end of the ARG essentially, just begin like an hour or two before this stream started. So it's coming to a head, y'all. It's coming. What's up, Game Mode? Good to see you, good friend. I am your friend, yes, and you are mine. But no, I'm honestly not surprised that they haven't revealed too much. But No Man's Sky multiplayer, that's a megaton, y'all. That's huge. Because a lot of people were asking for this. So I'm excited, y'all. I'm excited. And and I'm happy to see Sean healthy and out in the group and doing things in public again. Because man, they went hermit after launch really hard. As a matter of fact, Waking Titan, the ARG, was created just so they didn't have to talk that much with the community, man. Because the internet is a shitty place. It's a shitty, judgmental, horrifying place on Twitter and in communities and stuff like that. So you have to think, as a developer, I would think the same thing too, right? I would I would agree with that. I would be petrified of the community for sure. So let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'm gonna probably download this thing, and I'm probably going to re-upload this reaction and put out something a little bit more thoughtful here in a little bit. I'm going to take the little girl out so we can have some dinner, and she's outside playing right now. She abandoned me earlier. She was my stream partner. But asking for multiplayer is just players demanding what was promised. Now, see, that's a good point because multiplayer wasn't specifically promised. They promised a feature where you could see other players. Now, of course, that was not present at launch. Totally agree. But the way it was the way it was positioned back in those days was, it was positioned as you get to see each other. That's it. There's no killing each other. It's not a huge thing to. It's not that big a deal, right? It's not that much of a thing. So now that that came with Atlas Rises, by the way. Since Atlas Rises about a year ago, or a little less than a year ago. You're too nice. You're right. I'm objective. I criticized the hell out of Sean Murray and Hello Games when this game launched. As a matter of fact, I received a review copy of the game directly from Sony and actually did a review of the game on my channel. And I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I wasn't watching Twitter or anything like that. But then I started to notice with the game, I wasn't finding any players, not that I was trying too hard, but there was just shit that wasn't in the game as I was playing it, preparing for my review. And then I go to look on Twitter, and I go to look on other YouTube videos and things like that. I spent about 3 days, I spent about, I want to say 12 hours playing the game before I really went back to the internet to go, hey, what's going on? And I see all these news stories. Hey, these people met in the same location. They couldn't see each other. I saw other stuff too, like where's all these features? Where's all these things? Where's all these structures and all these, what's going on with the AI? The game was a mess when it launched. It must have locked up on me about half a dozen times in my 12 hours or so of capturing footage. But I actually made the conscious decision to not put out my review of the game until a few days later so that I could get my teeth more into it. Maybe I was missing something, but I do what I can to be objective about things, right? Now, if anybody knows me who has ever followed me on Twitter when something like Far Cry 4 launched, I was not nice to Ubisoft. I was not nice to the Far Cry 4 dev team. I was furious when that game launched because they lied by omission to a lot of the multiplayer and map editor fan base for that game. Oh yeah, we can't wait till you see the map editor. It's gonna be great. Yeah, there's vehicles in the multiplayer. Woohoo! And then the game launches. There's no multiplayer for the map editor at all. So, yeah, like that. Yeah, I was pissed. I lost my shit. Alex Hutchinson finally blocked me on Twitter after I took his ass to task so many times. But at the end of the day, it's all about how you perceive things and how you catch things and how you hear these things. I don't know why No Man's Sky launched like it did, but I know it did, and I know I still like the game. Even at launch, but I know there's a lot of opportunity, man, and I cannot blame the gaming industry too much for being critical of that. If they would have just came out and said, hey, we fucked up, it wasn't to our quality, we hit a deadline, we had to, but we're gonna fix it, right? Silence maybe isn't the thing, So, I'm going to stop the stream here. I'm going to probably re-upload this in a better fashion, I would say. Something a little more a little more thoughtful tonight. But this was my reaction. Great stream, y'all. Thanks for stopping by. And we're probably gonna hear some more stuff here in the coming days. So I'm excited, y'all. I'm excited. Good to see y'all. And we'll see you later with some more streams. By the way, I've got a green screen again, but I've got to install it here. I've got to do some Tim Allen type work to get it put in there. But thank you all, and I'll see you all later.